We put stuff out, he put stuff out. He's got like these little flags and he's like, this is my area. Because there was 2 to 4 parking spots. We actually had 5 parking spots in front of our spot. This video was brought to you by the Hustler's Mindset, pimping your mind for success. This video is a crazy ass story. I mean, it's bananas, okay? It is totally bananas. This is from the very first storefront once we left not the warehouse, but the flea market. We had scoped out places. We knew that we needed our own space based on what we were paying for damn near 20 booths in the flea market. It just made sense to have our own space. We have more access. So we found a spot, and it's kind of desolate. There's not too much going on, but the rent was cheap, so we went with it. And what I thought was going to be great traffic going up and down Lawrenceville Highway, I was wrong. Tell you a little secret here real quick before I get into the story. If you have a building that's like this, but the traffic flow is kind of like going that way, this is your building, right? But there's an angle. Even if there's 20,000 cars going past that building, because of that angle, they will miss your spot. Why? Because they have to really turn their head to see it, and they're driving. Now, if there's a traffic jam and they're there and they're looking around, they'll see you. But just in the normal course of driving, because of that angle, it's like a blind spot. We didn't know that because we were like, all these cars going by, but no one's stopping. And then when we start putting out like all kinds of stuff outside, then people would stop. And I learned a little secret. Put something bizarre outside. Something really nice, something crazy. If you got a stuffed gorilla, put it outside. People will stop. If you can do that with code enforcement. I hate code enforcement. Just letting you know. I hate them with a passion. So we get into the spot and we're there for a few months and things are going on. And then there's this guy, because there's 2 chicks next to us and they have like a thrift operation. And he's kind of selling bookcases. Well, we talk to him. He's like, we kind of help him out. He wants to sell some bookcases. We help him out. We do a little posting. We work out an arrangement. He's got some bookcases up front. Actually, he's kind of moved in. We even give him a key. He's watching stuff. He's making sales for us. Well, one day, I have a conversation with him, and I say, look, this is not going to work the way that you're doing it because you're blocking access. And he's like, whatever, because he's Armenian, right? He's from another country, and he walks off. This motherfucker walks off. This is my store. My name's on the lease, not his. And the next day, my partner and I, we sitting down and say, look, Oberon, it's not working. You gots to go. And then he's like, you're throwing me out, you're throwing me out, you're throwing me out. Yes, because you are an asshole. Well, we go on and we go on and go on. Then he kind of moves down back with the chicks. And the next thing I know, he's half their store. Then the next thing I know, and this is something that really pissed me off. There was a better spot that had a better floor plan, but the landlord had reserved it. They were using it for their own use. And one day I come to work, and he has that spot that I asked for. And I went to the landlord, and I was like, what's the deal? I asked for that spot. I said if there was a waiting list, and she just kind of shooed me off. And I was like, okay. Just to speed things up. 2 months later, we were gone. But those 2 months were hell. Oh my God, the madness. So he gets this spot, and he's got stuff going on. And then, we're enemies, okay? He's not a hater. He's an enemy. If I'm not looking and he has the ability to shank me, shank. That's what's going to happen. And this just gets really bad. Like, we put stuff out, he puts stuff out. He's got, like, these little flags, and he's like, this is my area. Because there was 2 to 4 parking spots. We actually had 5 parking spots in front of our spot. Because the place next door was empty. And he just became very territorial, extremely territorial, to the point that I had parked Humpty, the van, in the parking lot. Now there's a row of parking spaces right in front of the stores, and then there's some more spaces out in the parking lot. I'm parking out there. This fool calls the police department on me. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. He calls the police department on me. I think it's crazy because it's a common use parking lot. So I just sat there next to the van and he's like, the police are coming, they will arrest you for trespassing. And I was just like, you really need to study up these laws a little bit more, player. So I'm sitting there and the cop comes and I tell him exactly, and I'm sitting next to the van, I'm standing next to the van, my partner's out there, we're looking at him, and the cop is totally bewildered. And he's like, after 30 minutes of, oh, they're doing this and they want to put me out of business and blah, 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 the cop's just like, oh God, I got a headache. So he goes back into the store after the cop's like, sir, he can park here. It's a common use parking lot. So I tell the cop the whole deal. The cop is cracking up. I was like, okay, he's doing this, he's doing that. Like he actually moved some of our stuff because it was too close to his stuff. And the cop just was rolling. He gets in his car and he goes away. But at this point, after all the comedy, we're pissed. Okay? We are pissed. We helped this motherfucker get started. We helped him. We were, and then we're just like, what the hell? So it goes on and he keeps doing stuff. He's bad mouthing us. And then he sets off my partner. My partner was a letter writing savant. She knew how to find the right people. She knew how to get the letters to them. Started writing letters. She sent a letter to the IRS on him, a letter to immigration, a letter to the... one day she had I was like, what the hell is that? She had a stack of 12 letters. And she's like, this is for this motherfucker. He's going to call the police on you. Next thing you know, he's going to try to slap me or something. We need to get rid of him. Well, something happened and he has to leave the plaza. But this happens probably 6 months after we left, because at that point we were out of there. We were like, we don't care about you anymore because we asked for that space. That space was the best space in the spot. And then that was the first choice when we went in there, and she said, no, we're going to keep that. And then she gives it to this dickwad. I'm like, okay, I see where you going. So we're not about to give you our money anywhere. Best thing that ever happened. Because it forced us to get a warehouse. And we went on and had another storefront, but we had the big warehouse. Because, it was just like we had learned our lesson. The more stuff we had, the more we could sell. Well, long story short, find out he's at this place. And one day I go there because there was another business there and another person I did business with. And I'm walking in there and there's this conversation going on. And we're like, what the hell's going on here? And it's like, Oberyn, they came and got him. I said, what do you mean? He's in prison. So what are you talking about? The other day they came and got him, immigration and everything. We think he's going to be deported. Long story short, one of the women, because he was a fresh motherfucker. This dude, I saw it. He would sell furniture and stuff. Women would come in and it was nothing for him to put his hand on their back and it would just kind of slide to their ass and everything. And this guy was married, right? And they had little kids and stuff. But he was Chester the molester for real. He was totally Chester. There was Chester all up in his family tree. They were swinging on the branches. Just Chester here, Chester there. And I saw him and I said, dude, you can't be feeling up your customers. Oh, they like a manly man. I got big cock. They like that too. I was like, I don't want to know anything about that. Keep that to yourself. Then he proceeds to tell me he had this woman in there one night late and he fucked her in this store because when she saw how big his dick was, she had to have it. I said, okay. Now, I want you to think of Oscar the Grouch right now, okay? Oscar the Grouch, big, fluffy eyebrows and a scowl and a shock of white hair. Now think of Oscar the Grouch and the Nutty Professor. Got it? And this is a white man. Oscar the Grouch and the Nutty Professor. Like the professor from Back to the Future. That guy, Oscar the Grouch, eyebrows, these crazy ass glasses, and he walked really goofy. Just bent over, ass out. I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole. And that was him. And I was like, oh God, he's in jail? Yeah. Apparently, Because the guy, this was all hearsay and secondhand information, but it's like the guy said that someone had wrote a letter to immigration that this guy was running a business. He wasn't now he wasn't going through immigration. He was actually an illegal alien. That's another thing. He was an illegal alien. He was running a business and he was filling up women. And I was like, really? And it's like, yeah, the immigration people were like, normally we get complaints, but a lot of times they're bullshit. But this one's like 100% on. I was like, Francie. So I called up my partner. I was like, you did it. What do you mean? What do you mean? It's like immigration came and got over. And she's like, what? I was like, they got it. He's in prison. She said, yes! Do not piss off people that know the system. So, long story short, his ass actually went to jail and got deported. Just to let you know, you can't be an asshole, Chester the molester, and an illegal alien doing all of this shit without it coming back on you, because I didn't know he was here. I didn't know he was here illegally. I had no clue. Dude, they just kind of started to put together, because with his merchant account, it was like it was in his sister's name, and the lease was in his sister's name, and this thing was in his brother's name, and the truck was in someone else's name. And it was just like, people talk about Mexicans, and they forget there are a lot of people from virtually every country in the world that are here illegally. But it's just like, ooh, the Mexican. I have no problem with my Latino brothers. Sorry. They have helped me. They've been good to me. The Latino community has been good to me. So for everyone else, hey, whatever. You can hate on me if you want to. But I have felt nothing but love. But that's the deal. That was the taste of the Armenian Nazi. It was crazy. And there's another part to this. Because this story was actually written on the old blog, Urban Pack Rat. And one of the guys out there on the storage auction trail found it because there was a story which he assumed was about him called, Mr. Burger King Pants. And, essentially this is a guy that, just real quick, one day we're at Ansley Park waiting for an auction to start. It was the Sugar property. And he comes out and he's like, hey, I got my Burger King pants on. I was like, what the hell? Now there's 4 guys there, and him, with him it makes 5. There are no women. It's kind of cold. We're just sitting there just shooting the shit. Yeah, I got my Burger King pants. And then someone asked me, was like, where the Burger King pants? Yeah, home of the Whopper. No one laughed except him. So he finds it. He's emailing me. He's like, I want to meet you. We could talk about this in the street. And I'm like, dude, I didn't hang out with your ass that much on the auction trail. Why the hell I want to meet you now? So, just let you know, you may see some strange comments on this video. Because he's like, I know a lot of Armenians, and I'm going to get them, and they're going to come, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. All right. As always, subscribe, like, share, and leave a smart-ass remark. And I'll see you on the good side.